morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get in some front page news. Where we starting, Yee?
Well, let's start with Derek Chauvin and the trial that started yesterday that you can watch on Court TV. Now, this is the former Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin, who knelt on George Floyd's head. And you know, we keep on talking about this number, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. But in the beginning, the prosecuting attorney was intentional about letting people know it was actually longer than that.
You will learn that he was well aware that Mr. Floyd was unarmed, that Mr. Floyd had not threatened anyone, that Mr. Floyd was in handcuffs. He was completely in the control of the police. He was defenseless. You will learn what happened in that 9 minutes and 29 seconds when Mr. Derek Chauvin was applying this excessive force to the body of Mr. George Floyd.
Whew, and that was the prosecuting attorney, Jerry Blackwell. Now, there were also 3 witnesses, including a 911 dispatcher and 2 bystanders who also took the stand for the prosecution to lay the groundwork for what happened with George Floyd's final moments. As far as the defense, the defense attorney is saying that it was basically George Floyd's fault because he was drunk.
You will hear from Chris Martin, who is the store clerk at Cup Foods. Mr. Martin observed Mr. Floyd. He watched his body language. He interacted with Mr. Floyd in this moment. And Mr. Martin formed the opinion that Mr. Floyd was under the influence of something. At 8:01 p.m., a second clerk from the Cup Foods named Omar Camaro called 911 to report Mr. Floyd. During that call, Mr. Camaro, you will hear, described Mr. Floyd as drunk.
What does that have to do with Derek Chauvin murdering George Floyd? Do you see how
So what the defense attorney is trying to do, Eric Nelson, is trying to prove that there were some health issues so that it wasn't the knee, but a combination of drug use. Here's what else he had to say about George Floyd.
You will hear evidence of what happened in the Mercedes-Benz in the 20 to 30 minutes prior to the police arriving. You will hear from Mr. Floyd's friends, Shawanda Hill and Maurice Hall. This will include evidence that while they were in the car, Mr. Floyd consumed what were thought to be 2 Percocet pills. Mr. Floyd's friends will explain that Mr. Floyd fell asleep in the car and that they couldn't wake him up.
Do you see how they try to demonize black people? Right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say all of that was true, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say all of it was true. So what? He wasn't violent to the police officer. He didn't attack the police officer. He didn't commit no crime. Getting drunk and high off pills and falling asleep in a car means that you should be killed by police. Well, how many white boys need to get killed this morning then? Because I know that it's some right now drunk and high off some pills somewhere.
Think about it. George Floyd was laying there non-responsive for another 3 minutes and 51 seconds after having seizures, after crying out for help, and still, for almost 4 minutes, non-responsive, and you still have your knee on his neck? I mean, that is ridiculous. Now, the first witness that was called to the stand was Jenna Scurry. She's a 911 dispatcher who directed officers to the store. And here's what she said as she talked about the video.
I first asked if the screens had frozen.
Why did you ask that?
Because it hadn't changed.
And did you find that it had frozen?
No.
How did you know?
I was told that it was not frozen.
Did you see the screen change yourself?
Yes, I saw the person's moving.
So what did you start thinking at that point?
Something might be wrong.
That's how long they had their knee on his neck. She thought that the screen was frozen. Okay, the second prosecution witness was Alicia Marie Euler. She was an employee at the gas station across the street from where George Floyd died. She noticed that police were messing with someone, and she actually recorded 7 cell phone videos from a distance. These were played in court. And then the third witness was Donald Wynn Williams II, a professional MMA fighter who was actually there, and he was one of the most vocal bystanders. Here's what he said.
Based on your training experience, that this looked like a blood choke.
That is correct.
And did you say that to the officer?
That's correct.
How did he respond when you said that to him?
He looked at me right here. It's the only time he looked at me. When I said it was a blood choke, it's the only time he looked up. We looked each other dead in our eyes. When I said it, he acknowledged it.
All right.
I have zero expectations for this trial. We all know Derek Chauvin needs to be under the jail for murder, but this country has never shown me that it does the right thing, especially when it's white cops killing black people. So if justice is served and Derek Chauvin gets prison time, I'll be pleasantly surprised. but it's not like they're going to give him a life or anything. I highly doubt it. But, man, if they don't convict Derek Chauvin at all, last summer going to look and seem like spring break in Florida because they're going to burn this country to the ground in a real way if they don't convict Derek Chauvin.
He should
it just makes you feel like you have video, you have witnesses.
Everything. We've seen it all. He should be convicted. Not a problem.
It shouldn't even be. It should be grand opening, grand closing.
It should be.
Should be. Yes, but it's America. Amerikka.